The increasing alliance between Russia and Burkina Faso, as well as other African countries, is not a new development. It comes as relations with traditional Western powers have been on the decline. Russia has taken the opportunity to fill this void by expanding military and trade support to African nations. The shift in partnership can be attributed to several factors. Since Ibrahim Traoré assumed power in 2022, Burkina Faso has diverged from its traditional partners, including its former colonial masters, France, and instead opted to forge closer ties with Russia. Russia, in turn, has shown eagerness in solidifying their partnership by offering military training and equipment to aid Burkina Faso in combating insurgency and addressing security challenges within the country. During a recent tour in Africa, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov visited Burkina Faso and pledged to increase the presence of Russian military instructors who will provide training to the Burkina Faso military and law enforcement personnel. Additionally, Lavrov confirmed Russia's commitment to supply military equipment to bolster Burkina Faso's defense against militant groups, although specific details regarding the equipment were not disclosed. Speaking at a news conference, Lavrov emphasized that the number of Russian instructors working in the country will increase, thereby underscoring Russia's dedication to the partnership. The partnership between Russia and Burkina Faso offers mutual benefit. Burkina Faso gains access to military training equipment and support necessary to combat insurgency and enhance insecurity capabilities. Russia, on the other hand, expands its influence and presence in Africa, filling the void left by declining Western partnership. This alliance also opened up avenue for trade and economic cooperation between the two nations. Overall, the evolving partnership between Russia and Burkina Faso reflects a changing geopolitical landscape and the pursuit of shared interests in security and economic development. We have provided and will continue to provide Burkina Faso with military equipment to enhance its defense and capabilities and eradicate the remaining terrorist group, stated the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Sergei Lavrov also commended Burkina Faso for its objective and fair stance on the conflict in Ukraine. Furthermore, Lavrov expressed Russia's readiness to support the just cause of Africans who strive to liberate themselves from neo-colonial influences. This demonstrates Russia's eagerness to deepen its collaboration with Burkina Faso. The question arises, why is Russia seeking to foster its relationship with Burkina Faso and the African continent as a whole? The answer lies in the isolation resulting from sanctions imposed by the West. By providing military assistance to the Burkina Faso military, Russia aims to break out of isolation and counter the influence of France and the West in the country. This move benefits both parties involved. Russia gains a foothold in Burkina Faso, while Traoré's government gains access to Russian military support to address insecurity challenges. However, the critical question remains, will Russia's support effectively tackle Burkina Faso's insecurity? Since 2015, Burkina Faso has been plagued by violence and insecurity caused by extremist groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda and ISIS, which have spread throughout the Sahel region from Mali. The country has endured a recurrent armed clashes between militant and government forces, resulting in catastrophic consequences for the Burkina Faso people. The humanitarian crisis in Burkina Faso has resulted in the loss of thousands of lives and displacement of millions, leaving families stranded in overcrowded camps without access to food, clean water and healthcare facilities. Surprisingly, the presence of French troops supposedly aimed at combating insecurity coincided with a steady increase in insecurity and jihadist attacks, ultimately branding Burkina Faso as one of the most perilous countries to visit in Africa. The question arises, what was France doing to alleviate the situation? Regrettably, it appeared that France was doing nothing. Frustrated with the handling of the crisis by providing previous government and French military's ineffectiveness, Captain Traoré emerged on the scene after a coup in 2022, vowing to eradicate the country's insecurity crisis. Traoré is prioritizing the urgent need to address the insecurity, openly criticized the French military's failure to combat the insurgency. Amidst the growing anti-French sentiment, he took measures to reduce France's influence and presence within the country. In January 2023, Traoré terminated the military's agreement that allows France to maintain its presence and expel them from the country. Subsequently, it began seeking new non-Western partners, including Russia, Turkey, China, and Iran. While it remains unclear whether Russia will effectively assist Burkina Faso in tackling the crisis, it is undoubtedly a better alternative than relying on France and the West, who have been present in the country for years without achieving significant results. The decision to turn towards Russia and other non-Western partners is based on the pursuit of a win-win partnership and mutual benefit. This recent trend reflects a reversal of the dynamics in African relations with the West. Let's examine the situation regarding the Niger-US relationship. Following the coup in Niger and the expulsion of French forces, the military government of Niger chose not to respond when the US suspended aid and defense cooperation with them. Despite the US government suspension, the Nigerian government allowed defense cooperation between Niger and the United States to continue. However, when Niger began discussing military cooperation with Russia, the US suddenly decided to engage in a meeting with the Nigerian government to discuss the way forward. Rather than focusing on finding ways to resume the self-imposed suspension, the US introduced a condition for the resumption of defense cooperation with Niger, and that is the termination of any partnership between Niger and Russia. This situation highlights a sense of superiority complex. It is perplexing that US, which has not actively contributed to solving Niger's problem, would demand that Niger sever ties with a potential partner that they believe could assist them. No one has the authority to dictate whom the United States will partner with. So why should they have the right to dictate whom African countries should collaborate with? The West seems to forget that Africa is no longer a continent comprised solely of colonies, but rather a continent with a sovereign and independent nations. Similar to Niger and Burkina Faso, the island of Mauritius recently joined a growing list of African countries willing to disregard Western influence and engage in partnership with Russia. In April, the Mauritian ambassador to Russia, Kasev Jenke, participated in the African International Congress (AIC) held in Moscow. During the event, he shared his perspective on how Africa should respond to shifts in the global economic structure and advocated for the establishment of a new world order. Following the meeting, the ambassador openly shared with the media how Russia's efforts have contributed in the economic growth of his country, emphasizing Russia's increasing significance as a key player in the ever-changing global landscape. The truth of the matter is that the West's sense of superiority and their tendency to overstep their bounds is one of the factors driving African decisions to overlook Western influence and instead opt for Russia and China as a reliable partners. For decades, the West has been the preferred choice of partners for the African continent. But what tangible benefit are African countries truly gain from these alliances? Given the interconnected nature of the world today, it is not feasible for African countries to completely sever partnership with foreign nations and attempt to develop in isolation. Thus, the best course of action is to seek out other partners who are willing to engage on an equal footing and work collaboratively. Interestingly, Russia doesn't concern itself with African countries partnering with the West. Contrary to what the media may suggest, Russia's aim is simply to break free from the isolation imposed by Western sanctions. In fact, through platforms like BRICS, Russia advocates for a multipolar world where every nation's voice is heard and all countries actively participate in global affairs. This stands in stark contrast with the current state of affairs, where only the United States and its allies hold the power to decide on global issues and can penalize any dissenting nations. Curiously, driven by their own sense of superiority and arrogance, the West believes that Africa's preference for Russia as a partner is solely due to alleged Russian influence through disinformation campaigns. If one delves into the articles within Western media discussing this matter, it becomes apparent that they assert Russia's disinformation or false information about the West, aiming to sway the minds of African countries against Western nations. To begin with, this notion is an insult to Africans, as it implies that the African people are easily influenced and capable of making independent decisions. Furthermore, it is actively hypocritical for the West to make such claims, considering their own engagement in similar practices. The West has utilized media outlets to manipulate the narrative surrounding Africa, portraying it as a continent reliant on Western aid and incapable of self-sufficiency. They have used the media to shape public opinion about African leaders who have stood up against Western interests, often labeling them as dictators and human rights violators. The West has skillfully employed media channels to mold the world's perception according to its desires. Thus, if there is anyone who has supported this disinformation campaign, the West should be the forefront of that discussion. The truth is, following the US sanction imposed on Russia for its actions in Ukraine, African countries have come to realize that the West is not a steadfast ally and can turn against them at any moment. This realization has prompted Africa to seek closer ties with Russia, and frankly, there is no stopping this shift in alliance. What do you think of Niger Republic and Russia alliance? Do you think it's going to be beneficial to both parties, or one party is going to take all the whole benefit? I would love to hear your thoughts. Drop your comment reaction in the comment box. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video and share. I will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.